Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another episode of the strategy series. This time we're going to go over how to counter Agent of Destruction Dende and sometimes the Purunga build, if you guys have seen that build floating around. But the most popular leader is Dende, so we're going to talk about kind of how to counter that leader and how to play around it to the best of your abilities. You know, in my opinion, it is another degenerate Child's Wish strategy, but I do feel like I need to bring you guys this way, you know, these ways of countering the decks so that you're as best prepared as possible until something is dealt with these decks or until they're phased out of the format, whatever the case may be. So before we get into this video, guys, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, make sure that notification bell to stay up to date with awesome Dragon Ball Super content that I post here. Check out the description below for our Discord server. Amazing community for Dragon Ball Super players there. Talk about your decks, get advice in the game, whatever you need. And finally, guys, if you're longtime fans of the channel or want to help me out, check out the Patreon in the description below. Lots of competitive content. Later this week, actually, there will be a how to counter AoD article as well. So it's going to kind of supplement and complement this video pretty nicely. So we'll get into this video. Alright, first thing you guys might notice is the Super Shenron leader. The biggest reason I have this leader up here is because yellow is the best way to counter this deck, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of a lot of the upper tier players. And the best yellow deck right now is Super Shenron. I mean, without a doubt, you have Super Shenron Storm, you have Super Shenron Blue-Yellow aggro, and you have Super Shenron Height, in my opinion, Height being the best build. And you have access to the best cards that can counter this deck, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But overall, if you really want your best shot of winning at tournaments and winning events right now, Super Shenron is the play, and you do have the best counters to AoD Dende, in my opinion. Let me know if you think about it differently down in the comments, but that's just my opinion starting off. We'll get into the cards I have listed here. Kami, Global Unifier. Now, I did have this card in the How to Counter Super Shenron video, but this card is actually a lot more effective against the AoD deck, so you can kind of side it in for two matchups. It is also good against Skillless, so this could be a card in your sideboard that gets value across a lot of different matchups, and it is much better against AoD Dende. The only issue is that if you don't kill them on the following turn, they can pretty easily re-spam all their agents by just comboing the Boo to the drop area and then using Child's Wish to bring out the Searcher Boo and just doing the entire play over again as long as they have another Bobbity. So Kami Global Unifier is only going to be good if you have access to a lot of defense follow up to it, or a way to kill your opponent following up to it. And casting a Kami for 3 energy to basically board wipe your opponent, it's not very likely you're going to be able to kill your opponent in the same turn unless you're able to like awaken and untap 2 and do a lot of crazy things. So be careful with this card. I would definitely play this card if you have a more defensive build, not so much if you're a more aggressive build. Now we're going to look at Dark Power Black Mass Sand. This card is actually not as effective against AoD Dende as it is against Super Shenron, but it's still decently effective. When they do free wish out the Boo, they will have to discard 2 cards, which oddly enough in some instances can help them because they can just discard their Agent of Destruction and then just bring them back. But in other instances, like if you do elongate the game in combination with some of these other cards, this Black Mass Sand is going to put in a lot of work, because if they're trying to free wish multiple times over the course of the game, those discards are going to start to add up, and then you're going to be able to kill them because they're not going to have enough combo power to kill you. So Dark Power Black Mass Sand is good in grindier games, not so much if your deck is, you know, quick aggro or if your deck just can't survive the onslaught. So now we have 2 overrealm options: Dimensional Banisher Fu and Bardock Fully Unleashed. So the main thing with these cards is warping the Boo Seeker Rare, right? So a lot of times the Boo Seeker Rare will have barrier, because if they can protect the Boo with barrier, they can just do the play over again on turn 4, like I mentioned. But if you're able to remove that Boo, if they weren't able to give a barrier, if their barrier granting Boo was in their life, let's just say, and you cast Dimensional Banisher or Bardock Fully Unleashed, you're going to be able to get rid of the Boo, and then they're not going to be able to re-loop the Boo again. They're not going to be able to combo it to the drop area. They're not going to be able to Bulma it back into the deck, and they're not going to be able to re-summon it from the deck if it's warped. So a good little side note there, if your deck can play overrealms. These cards are also good in other matchups as well, which is another thing I like about this video, is that it's going to be a little bit of a versatile video in terms of you can sideboard these cards in other matchups. You know, Banisher Fu and Fully Unleashed are both good against Green Broly. They're both good against Baby Vegeta. They're good against a lot of decks you're going to see in the format. So good cards. Now we have a few blue cards to talk about. There might be more blue cards. Let me know if you think of any. These are the best ones that I was able to come up with. Senzu Bean, of course, is just one of the best defensive cards in the game. If you're, let's say you're awakened and they're attacking you with a whole bunch of their agents, if you combo a Bean, that's 5k extra. You don't have to waste every single attack because you'll be 20 for the turn. So, and if you can double Bean, they're going to have to waste cards now to damage you, which is beneficial for you. You know, they'll be trading resources with you much more often, much more frequently, which is what you want. You know, as long as you can stay at that 4 life and hopefully not go down to a 3, so you don't get triple strike to death. Hopefully the Bean will get you there. Mafuba is another pseudo answer to the Boo Secret Rare, because when they do swing with it, sometimes they want to evolve the blue, the name is escaping me, but the Boo that evolves on top and gets 60k triple strike, they want to evolve that on top. And if you Mafuba it, they can't loop the play like I just mentioned. They also cannot evolve on top of it for an additional triple strike. So Mafuba is actually really good in that matchup. And that build does not have access to battering laser, so you know that Mafuba is always going to be a safe play, basically. Sometimes your opponent won't swing with the boost secret rare, though, if they don't think they can kill you. So you might have to bait them into thinking they can kill you. You might have to go down to 3 life and then Mafuba them. And you might be able to clean up from there. So that would actually be a good instance where you Mafuba your opponent. They can't re-loop the boo play whatsoever. And then the following turn you can Kami kind of safely. You know, definitely still keep energy up for defense because playing at 3 life is dangerous, but that is a much better instance to Kami than any other instance I can think of realistically. Then we have King Yemma, the Soul Supervisor, and then Krillin Ability Unleash, which is the last card on this list, are basically the same thing. One's for yellow, one's for blue. When you play them, you get to draw a card, and you can choose 2 non-black battle cards in your opponent's drop area, shuffle them to the deck. So off the bat, I'll say these aren't the most energy efficient cards. I kind of wish these were 1-drops, to be honest, but they're not the most energy efficient, and they're definitely not the best counters to this deck. But if something evolves, if something happens in the future, these cards could become better. If somehow we get a better defensive card, let's say, where the game can last longer, this can help you outgrind AoD, because if you just remove their AoDs back to their deck, they're not going to be able to spam the board as wide, which can definitely be beneficial for you. So I will again say these aren't the best cards on the list, but they do serve a function against those decks. A Kind Wish. Now we get into some green stuff. Excellent card against this deck if you can survive again. It is a Kami, however, it's actually a better Kami for, you know, a specific archetype for green Frieza army leaders. So what this card does is it bounces your opponent's board back to the bottom of their deck, and it ignores barrier. So whether they gave the SCR barrier, doesn't matter. All the agents go back to the deck as well, so they could still summon the secret rare from the deck. However, they won't have any agents in the drop area anymore, so that means they won't be able to, you know, summon all of them from the drop area. They're gonna have to basically set up again. They're gonna have to combo away a bunch of AoDs in their hand if they have them, or they're gonna have to, like, I don't know, Super Dragon Ball again somehow and get rid of them. It makes it really, really awkward for the opponent, and they're not gonna be able to just respam the board freely. So Kind Wish is actually very good. And typically in Kind Wish decks, you're going to be seeing the, you know, the big Broly chain that pops battle cards. This is good as well because, you know, the 6-drop and the 8-drop both can pop battle cards that attack. So let's just say they're comboing big into a swing. You can then just destroy the AoD, and they're not going to be able to force damage. They're going to lose a lot of cards right then and there. The Broly deck as well is another decent counter because you can just play defense, play defense, play defense, and then on the following turn, you're guaranteed to draw back 6 cards, which is really good. But yeah, the Broly Power Unleashed can pop any of their attackers, and then the 8-drop Broly, which is not pictured here, but you guys probably know what it is by now, they can pop barriers, so you can actually pop the boost secret rare. And in that instance, you know, they would be able to maybe recycle the play with the Bulma Dangerous Journey, put it back in the deck, and do it all over again. But as long as you pop it with the 8-drop ignoring barrier, they're not going to be able to evolve into the big boo that gives triple strike 60k that same turn. So some give and take there, kind of what's good and what's not so good. Unending Awakening. Now we get into some red stuff. So I've got 3 red negates here, right? And notice I don't have Afterimage. Afterimage is not quite as good against AoD because it doesn't stop as many attacks for as much value. So here I have Unending Awakening. You get the same effect as Bean. Again, if you're a 15k leader, going 20k for the turn is really good. Going 25k for the turn, if you can resolve 2 of these, is really good. And in some instances, it's almost better than Bean because you actually stop an attack and then get big. So you don't have to combo an additional card. And then 2 Unending Awakenings might just end your opponent's turn, which is really good. And then Is That All You've Got is another great card. This is actually a 3-for-2 negate attack stopper. So you negate 1 attack with 1 card, so that's a 1-for-1 right there, and then you discard 1 card, and then you decrease 2 other things by 15k. So typically you're going to decrease 2 other AoDs, and that's going to put them at 5k. They're not going to be able to threaten you that turn. So for 2 cards, you stop 3 attacks, which is pretty high value. So red is decently positioned against this deck, especially if you're playing like Pan Chain Zeno or Vegeta Baby. Those decks are pretty well positioned against AoD if you're playing Is That All You've Got. Paralysis Technique, another decent card if you're playing Frieza Prison or Frieza Swap. You know, you just give them the minus 5k, so it's almost like the opposite of Unending Awakening, and if you can drop 2 Paralysis Techniques, that's going to be pretty good as well. Now we come to the best color to counter this deck, in my opinion, which I said before is yellow. So Cold Bloodlust, not the most popular card in the meta right now because Cold Bloodlust leaders are kind of being phased out, except for the Green Broly leader and Yellow Broly here and there. But this card is very good. You know, Cold Bloodlusting the Secret Rare Boo, or Cold Bloodlusting the Searcher Boo when they bring it out, so they can't search any pieces they need. But I think the best play is probably Cold Bloodlusting the Secret Rare Boo, and then if you're able to answer it on the next turn, ideally with like Dimensional Banisher or Bardock Fully Unleashed and warp it, that's very solid. Even actually banishing the 5-drop Awakening Evil Majin Buu is also good as well after you Bloodlust it, so that's pretty solid too. Then we have Crusher Ball. This card is amazing. You don't Crusher Ball the secret rare, you Crusher Ball the cards that the secret rare is going to bring out, right? So if you guys know about the counter windows, the timing windows, you have to basically blind Crusher Ball the effect of the boost secret rare, but it's going to be a field full of AoDs anyway. It's not like they're going to whiff on that. So when they activate the boost secret rare effect to bring back all the AoDs, you Crusher Ball right then and there. And then they're all going to come out in rest mode. It's almost like a Nimbus, except you don't have to discard an additional card, and you might take a triple strike, but you're probably going to be at high life anyway because they haven't really started swinging at you yet. So one triple strike early game is not going to be super detrimental. The only issue I'll say about Cobalist and Crusher Ball is that a lot of these AoD decks do main deck Killy Zone, so be wary of that. If you're playing Crusher Ball or Bloodlust, you have to be playing Nimbus, in my opinion. Just in this format in general, Nimbus is so important. We talked about it with Super Shenron. Now we're going to talk about it with AoD. Ideally, Crusher Ball is a bit better than Nimbus in that matchup, unless they Killy Zone you. If they Killy Zone you, you got to hope that you have the Nimbus in hand, so then you get his Nimbus, discard the dead Crusher Ball, because Crusher Ball is not going to do anything else that turn, and you live a turn, and hopefully you kill them, or hopefully you just kind of clear their board and make it so that they're in an awkward position, like the ways I mentioned before. Banish their secret rare, clear their board, kind wish them, whatever the case may be. Those are some of your best options, guys. So these are some of the cards that I've come up with to counter AoD Dende. Let me know what you guys have in the comments below. What's been working for you? Let's help the community here. You know, drop it in the comments, share this video if you want to help your friends be AoD. And thanks for watching, guys. Let me know how you feel in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, now that you made it this far, listen good, listen close. In this pile of bulk behind me, I've got a Victory Strike just sitting there, unsleeved. Just minding its own business, just wants to be played, just wants to be used, just wants to, you know, cheese people out of wins. And I swear, if you don't hit the subscribe button or check out some of our other videos right now before clicking off this video, I'm gonna rip it to shreds, I'm gonna tear it up, I'm gonna waste $500 if you guys don't hit the subscribe button or check out some of our other videos. I swear, I'll do it, I really will.